On October 31st, the new rural cooperative Rural Capital Mutual Aid Society in Nehe City, Heilongjiang, reportedly collapsed. Online sources shared that locals had deposited billions of yuan, only to find that now the money was gone and the operators had disappeared. Videos posted by social media users showed hundreds of depositors gathered at the new rural cooperative office and the Nehe Hotel demanding answers. Security guards and plainclothes officers were at the scene, but the situation became chaotic, with one person suddenly collapsing. At a meeting, a person resembling an official from the institution admitted there were issues with certain funds related to the Mutual Aid Society. On October 30th, the city's regulatory bureau conducted an investigation, finding risks and halting all services at the institution. As for the extent of these risks, they said answers would come only after completing the investigation. One unhappy depositor questioned, how could a bank have such risks? On November 1st, a report by Chinese media outlet Benliu News quoted a resident, Mr. Li, who stated that the new rural cooperative Rural Capital Mutual Aid Society in Nehe had shut down, leaving locals with billions in deposits that they can't access. Mr. Li had learned the previous evening that the institution was no longer operational and that withdrawals were blocked. When he went to check on October 31st, he found the door shut. That afternoon, he and other depositors reported the issue to city officials, but authorities gave no clear response, only stating that time was needed to investigate. Mr. Li mentioned that most depositors were elderly residents. His family, along with two relatives, had together deposited 230,000 yuan with the institution. According to him, the cooperative had been active for over a decade, initially promoting itself in rural areas with promises of high interest rates. Although the interest rates had decreased in recent years, withdrawals had continued smoothly, so people trusted it as a regular bank. Now, however, it was evident to the community that it wasn't a conventional bank. Mr. Li estimated that thousands had deposits in the institution, ranging from a few thousand to over 1 million yuan. Journalists attempted to contact the cooperative's office through multiple phone lines, but all calls went unanswered. Attempts to reach Nehe City government offices and the propaganda department also yielded no response. A call to the Qiqihara branch of the National Finance Regulatory Authority revealed that staff had no knowledge of the situation, but said they would report it to higher authorities. Local sources indicated that relevant personnel at the institution have been detained. However, the authorities quickly moved to maintain stability, blocking all reports from the media, and videos related to the incident were gradually removed from social media. According to the data platform Tianyancha, the new Rural Cooperative Mutual Aid Society was founded in 2012 with registered capital of 5.2 million yuan. The institution has repeatedly been involved in 28 risk incidents and 24 legal disputes. As of midday, November 1st, scattered videos of the incident remained on Chinese social media. People commented, "This is too much. This is getting out of hand. It's safer to save money in state-owned banks. If you want higher interest rates, go for stocks." Another comment questioned the existence of deposit insurance at the Mutual Aid Society, noting that without it, deposits were highly at risk. Overseas social media also saw discussions on the situation, with comments like, Many financial institutions are failing. The CCP's financial system is crumbling. It's a scam targeting ordinary people. And, fellow villagers, don't run. Public records explain that China's rural mutual aid societies, or cooperative societies, are financial institutions approved by banking regulatory authorities, established voluntarily by rural residents and small businesses in towns or administrative villages, operating as community-based financial institutions. The first Rural Capital Mutual Aid Society in China was established in Jilin Province in March 2007. In 2014, there were 49 such societies, but as of 2021, only 41 remained, along with 2,204 rural credit institutions across China, including 1,569 rural commercial banks, 26 rural cooperative banks, 609 rural credit cooperatives, and 1,642 village banks. In the past decade, rural financial institutions in China have been plagued by corruption scandals and financial crises. In 2013 alone, criminal cases involving rural mutual aid societies and cooperative societies were frequent, with cases where officials embezzled large sums of at least 200 million yuan. In October 2012, 4 rural financial cooperatives closed in Jiangsu province. These rural mutual aid societies, considered microfinancial institutions, looked and operated much like banks, with counters and formally dressed employees. However, many of these institutions engaged in illegal fundraising, misappropriated funds, and ultimately left depositors with nothing. Some of these cooperatives indirectly funneled funds into local real estate projects. In some cases, cooperative managers took on government projects, financing them up front, which eventually led to financial collapse and a crisis where they couldn't repay deposits. Another example includes village banks, which also aim to provide financial services to local farmers and businesses. Unlike branches of large banks, village banks are independent legal entities. Starting in April 2022, village banks in Hunan province unexpectedly suspended online withdrawals and transfers, leaving customers unable to access their deposits. This financial scandal affected 400,000 users, with deposits frozen totaling around 40 billion yuan. In July 2022, thousands of depositors gathered outside the Zhengzhou branch of the People's Bank of China, holding banners and chanting slogans demanding their money back. Police and unidentified security personnel dispersed the crowd, with some clashes resulting in injuries. There were continued protests afterward, with depositors being tracked and blocked by unknown individuals and police. On March 12, 2023, citizens in Zhengzhou gathered at Wanda Plaza and the Yellow River, releasing large balloons with banners reading, "Hunan government deceives the public, illegally freezing deposits." Currently, thousands of depositors still have not retrieved their funds. Behind these events lies the questionable relationship between the village banks and their major shareholders, as well as collaborations with other investment companies. The situation has exposed loopholes and corruption in China's rural financial institutions. In February 2022, Cai Sheng, a former vice chairman of the China Banking Regulatory Commission, was arrested for bribery. Later, Liu Yi, chairman of the New Fortune Group, which was implicated in the Hunan Village Bank scandal, reportedly moved to the U.S. People speculated that Liu may have embezzled funds before the collapse of the 40 billion yuan bank scandal. In July 2022, Hunan Banking and Insurance Regulatory Bureau Inspector Li Huanting came under investigation. Li previously oversaw the regulation of village banks and rural mutual aid societies in Hunan. On September 2nd, videos and screenshots surfaced online about a purported crisis at the Zhejiang Bank of the Bank of Nanjing. Some claimed that depositors couldn't withdraw more than 500,000 yuan, with videos showing police intervention and depositors in tears. Authorities later denied these claims. The dispute arose because depositors felt Hunan village banks and the Bank of Nanjing colluded to transform legitimate deposits into illegal fundraising. Since the incident with Hunan's village banks, similar failures have been frequent across China's village banks, typically ending in mergers or closures. In 2023 alone, nearly 100 banks were consolidated. These issues aren't limited to rural banks. Even commercial banks have occasionally faced withdrawal crises. According to a report from Southern Metropolis Daily on June 13th, journalists found that in Shenzhen, ATM withdrawals were limited to amounts below 20,000 yuan. Withdrawals between 20,000 and 50,000 yuan could be done at the counter, but for amounts over 50,000 yuan, customers needed to book in advance, and larger withdrawals required proof of intended use. For example, at Everbright Bank, withdrawals of over 20,000 yuan require a reservation, while Shenzhen Rural Commercial Bank requires advanced booking for amounts above 100,000 yuan. For amounts over 200,000 yuan, Hangzhou Bank requires proof of use, and China Construction Bank requires both a reservation and app approval. Bank staff explained that bookings are needed to prevent cash shortages at counters, ensuring smooth withdrawals for all customers. This policy is not new. Similar practices were introduced in 2022, aiming to combat money laundering. However, many worry that the limitations are a sign of worsening economic conditions, with an increase in bad loans and cash flow issues making it harder for banks to fulfill regular withdrawals. Later in June, groups of investors gathered outside the Jiangxi Bank headquarters, protesting and chanting slogans. Elderly participants were among them. Rumors of a run on Jiangxi Bank circulated online, but on July 4th, the Nanchang Financial Bureau dismissed these claims, stating that they were false and that authorities were investigating potential disruptions to the bank's operations. According to reports, these protesters at Jiangxi Bank were clients who had invested in a targeted collective fund plan issued by Zhongyou National Reserve through Nanchang Mingrongdeng, which failed to pay out as of May 20th. They thus turned to Jiangxi Bank, which managed the accounts involved. Reports also noted that the Mingrongdeng incident was not isolated. In 2023, several private finance registration centers in Yingtan, Jiangxi, experienced similar issues. From August 27th to 29th, customers in Hunan, Gushi County reported via video that they were unable to withdraw their savings from the local agricultural bank branch. People claimed that the bank had used their deposits to finance failed construction projects, leaving customers with nothing. Attempts to sue the bank have also been unsuccessful. In one shocking incident, a resident of Changchun who tried to withdraw money on June 11th was told he needed approval from the local police station. The police cited preventing telecom fraud as the reason. Legal experts in China argued that the right to freely withdraw deposits is fundamental, and this banking requirement could be illegal. China's worsening economy and real estate market downturn have heightened financial risks and intensified crises. Data from the Financial Regulatory Authority in August 2024 revealed that at least 50 small and medium-sized banks, mostly rural ones, had closed this year. Former corporate executive and China-US analyst Liu Yuanxing commented that under current economic conditions, more banks will likely face crises. In October 2023, after Evergrande's chairman Xu Jiayin was detained, a debt list of Evergrande circulated online, showing Kangzhou Bank as the 16th creditor owed 3.4 billion yuan. This sparked a withdrawal rush at Kangzhou Bank, with customers preferring to secure their principal over waiting for interest, fearing that their savings might ultimately vanish if left in the bank. Prominent economist Xu Changgang once pointed out that a significant portion of China's financial loans are collateralized by real estate assets. As the real estate market declines, these asset-backed loans lose value, destabilizing banks' balance sheets. When assets shrink, banks are at risk of collapse, potentially triggering a chain reaction that could lead to a full-scale financial crisis. According to a report by Freedom House, China saw at least 805 economic-related protests in 2023, marking a 127% increase compared to the previous year. Economist Xu Changgang commented that China's economic issues are systemic, rooted in the structure of the Chinese Communist Party rather than the fault of any individual. In March 2023, the United States experienced its most significant bank failures since the 2008 financial crisis, with 3 banks collapsing within a week, including Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. To reassure depositors, the U.S. government swiftly implemented emergency measures to stabilize the banking system. President Joe Biden publicly stated, "No losses will be borne by the taxpayers." This approach drew comments from Chinese netizens, who lamented the stark contrast in depositor protections between the U.S. and China. Economist Davy J. Huang noted that while both the U.S. and China have deposit insurance systems, China's enforcement is inconsistent. The CCP often suppresses protest by depositors of failed banks, making it difficult for them to recover their funds. Huang observed, "It's surprising, because the insurance system is there. The issue is that people aren't allowed to claim it, and enforcement is lacking despite the laws being in place." U.S.-based political analyst Qing Peng criticized the CCP's handling of the Hunan Village Bank case. Authorities classified the case as illegal fundraising, providing only government advances rather than full compensation, leaving depositors with over 500,000 yuan to bear part of the losses themselves. A lawyer in Zhejiang revealed that some large depositors from Hunan village banks who had received extra interest payments from these banks were placed on wanted lists by Hunan authorities for alleged involvement in illegal fundraising. The lawyer accused the government of blatantly seizing citizens' assets under the guise of law. Qing Peng pointed out that such actions are driving China's wealthy elite to emigrate, motivated not only by concerns over education, pollution, and food safety, but increasingly by fears over financial security. This trend accelerated following the CCP's Common Prosperity Policy and the lockdowns in Shanghai. Incidents like the village bank scandal only deepen concerns about potential financial targeting based on one's wealth.